Censorship. Warning. Censorship. Warning. Censorship. Warning.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel live stream on this, a Wednesday, May the 19th, 2021. And look who it is. It's not Ezra. He's way too busy today. Way too busy. So I guess the B team are taking over the Wednesday spot. That would be me, David Menzies, and my lovely co-host, Sheila Gunn Reid.
Hey, David. I almost said your name wrong. Hey, David. This got sprung on us last minute. I'm still having a camera problem, so if it looks like I'm filming this on a potato, that's basically the case. I can't get the lighting right. Everything looks wrong, but that's okay. Last minute, Ezra said, I'm way too busy running Canada's largest independent news network to do the live stream today, so can you two do it? And we obviously jumped at the chance because we love doing the live stream. We love talking to each other. We love just talking, I think. But we like talking to each other, and we like talking to our viewers and supporters who are currently watching us right now on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and superu.net. And though we are still broadcasting on YouTube, we're only using it as a place for people to find us. If you are currently watching us on YouTube right now, might I suggest you jump on the off-ramp and head on over to Odyssey, Rumble, or superu.net. On Odyssey, you can do something called a hyper chat, which supports the work that we do here at Rebel News. You have to buy one of Odyssey's cryptocurrency coins, tokens. I don't know what they're called. I don't understand cryptocurrency. I know I should. I just don't. But it's called a library, and you can throw a little library at us, and we'll read your comment, query, or question or concern on air, do our best to answer it. Rumble, we're streaming there right now, and superu.net, brand new platform, pretty free speechy, kind of like those guys over there. Sorry? And superu.net has a live chat feature, so you can, that community that we had over at YouTube that I used to like so much, where it was the regulars talking to each other. If you like that, and I know that was one of the fun things about having the live chat on YouTube, why don't you head over to superu.net and sort of cultivate a community over there. So that's where we are. And again, we remain completely demonetized by YouTube because who even knows?
Well, you've said a lot to digest there, Sheila. I understand none of it. I feel like the tagline for the Howard the Duck comics in the 70s, trapped in a world he never made. I'm the modern day Howard the Duck. And by the way, I do apologize for not giving you the proper WWE introduction. As you know, I'm only contractually obliged to do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we normally do the show. So I'll come up with an extra special one for you tomorrow. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, David.
Lots to discuss, my friend. I guess, some good news, I guess. Of course it's good news, and you're the one on this file, Sheila. Pastor Tim has been released. What happened?
Well, I'm not just the only one on this file. This file is so large that it's me. I cover the court proceedings. Then Adam and K2, Kian Simone, not Kian Baxi. We call him K2. They're on the ground in Calgary dealing with the story as it happens. And apparently I'm the court reporter to the Christian community. So that's what I do. And there was a second bail hearing for Pastor Tim Stevens. If we go back a little bit, Pastor Tim Stevens is a pastor at Fairview Baptist Church. And he's been holding church services that are non-compliant with the lockdown restrictions because he says they violate his ability to practice his religion. And practicing your religion in the way you see fit is a protected charter right in this country. And might I add, for everybody saying, well, all these other churches are going online, there's a reason. There are a gazillion different Christian denominations. Is because we all have different interpretations of how to practice Christianity. So if you go to an online church and that's doing it for you, great, but you don't get to tell everybody else what works for them. You get to go to a different denomination. You don't get to make a uniformity for everybody else. That's freedom of religion. Anyway, that aside, Pastor Tim has, they also, though, if people don't want to come to his church at Fairview Baptist, they also stream online. But for the people who need to come in person, he does that. And he doesn't make them wear masks. If they want to wear masks, fine. He doesn't make them social distance. If they want to social distance, that's fine. His church pews are full. He was arrested on Sunday after services in front of his beautiful wife, Raquel, and his 8 children aged just 5 months to 12 years old. Oh, those images of those kids clinging to their dad, that will haunt me. One of the worst images of the entire pandemic is seeing those kids clinging to their dad before the cops take them away for the crime of, I guess, being a Christian pastor who feels obligated to honor God above the government. So he was arrested under a May 6th restraining order that Alberta Health Services got against basically everybody in the province, but specifically Glenn Carrott of United We Roll and Chris Scott of the Whistle Stop. But that order also included unnamed Jane and John Doe. So me, my kids, my husband, 4.4 million Albertans, I guess, preventing us from organizing, promoting, or attending illegal public gatherings. It's just the government's Orwellian term for church and protests, I guess. And the thing is, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms went into court on Thursday morning, so Thursday before the Sunday of his arrest, and successfully argued to have that restraining order amended to only include people involved with the Whistle Stop and operating under the direction of the Whistle Stop. So it didn't include Pastor Tim or anybody else. However, Pastor Tim was still arrested under that order. He was able to get bail on Monday. His bail hearing was Monday. But as it turns out, he couldn't sign the conditions of his release in good conscience. It's my understanding that Justice Adam Germain waited till 6 o'clock in the evening for Pastor Stevens to sign the conditions of his bail release. He just couldn't do it in good conscience. He became a prisoner of conscience for another 24 hours. Yesterday, another emergency bail hearing, and the terms they came to was something that Pastor Tim could agree to. It does require him, and this is my loose understanding because things were changing quite fast, to adhere to the May 6th order. However, the conditions of his release can be amended on 24 hours notice. And so he's not completely bound by that, because while there are questions about the legality of his first arrest, if he agrees to be bound by that May 6th order and then he breaches it again on Sunday, then he really is going to jail for contempt, and that's a legal arrest. So I think the escape clause is that the order can be, like, his bail release conditions can be amended within 24 hours notice. And I think the hope is that they can amend them in time for him to hold church services and, I guess, just get a ticket, which is $2,000 now, instead of go to jail for holding church in Alberta. I can't even believe I said that sentence.
It is unbelievable. And by the way, Sheila, I'd like to pick up on something you said earlier, that there are people out there, the critics, well, let's be honest, the haters, going, well, if only these churches and if only these pastors went online, there's no problem. Can't they do what the rest do? The innuendo being they're trying to generate publicity for the church, or even worse, they're trying to make themselves martyrs to get public sympathy, which is kind of offensive. These are the same people, Sheila, I would bet my life on, that with all the pro-Hamas demonstrations that we're seeing,
100%.
where there is a complete lack of social distancing, there are crimes being committed, including assault. There are bottles and rocks being thrown. Hey, just like the old country, I guess, so bring it into our great dominion too. Why not? The anti-Semitism that is spewed. And in London, Ontario, a photograph of someone actually waving a Nazi flag, the idea being Israel is the equivalent today of Nazi Germany. You know, nothing do in there? No criticism whatsoever. They either turn a blind eye or they even go so far as to say justified. Can you imagine, Sheila, if there was, say, a group of predominantly white men in a public square with MAGA hats on, and one of them, just one, had a Nazi flag in the context of God knows what? How many front pages would be displaying that right now? But instead, we have a media party that is trying to bury that image like it never happened. And these are the same people that are saying, oh, can't they just go online and then this isn't a problem? Again, Sheila, I mean, it's a running narrative of the last 2 years now. The hypocrisy is beyond understanding.
You know, it's really something, because a lot of these people who are saying, well, why can't you just go online? I bet you they don't even remember the last time they actually set foot in a church.
Oh, for sure.
They're the kind of people who, you know, that they don't even see the necessity of church. 100% chance of them being masters in divinity from Google University. That kind of stuff. And, you know, speaking about the hypocrisy, I know that we were getting around to writing this story up for the website, but maybe Justin can pull it up. And I know it's not on the list of things that we had outlined to talk about today. But NDP MLA Irfan Sabir in Alberta, his very top pinned tweet on his Twitter account, at least yesterday when I saw this information, is him saying, Premier Kenney, didn't your government limit outdoor gatherings to 10 people enforceable with a $1,000 fine for violating it? What's stopping you from enforcing it? And then he's tweeting further on down about attending an anti-Israel rally. He's attending an anti-Israel rally after calling on the premier to ticket people who attended a rodeo, people who attend anti-lockdown protests, people who just are sick of this. Yeah. Premier Kenney, didn't your government, they're talking about the Walk for Freedom. Didn't your government limit outdoor gatherings to 10 people? Blah, 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 blah. He wants the hammer dropped on these people. Then, if we go down, Calgary McCall MLA, I don't know if he deleted it or not. Let's see. I'm going to go down. Thank you, Justin. Sorry, I just sprung this on you. Maybe I could text it to you if that's more helpful. But anyways.
I love how Rachel Notley is wearing a mask in her photo, because if she wasn't wearing a mask, Sheila, you might look at her face and, even though it's online, get the coronavirus.
Okay, perfect. You found it for me. Thank you. I was just going to send it to you in WhatsApp. Okay, Irfan Sabir, May 16th. Calgary McCall, MLA Irfan Sabir wrote on social media that he had joined Sunday's convoy and called for the international community to preserve human rights and peace in the region. So he attends this major protest in downtown Calgary against Israel at the very same time that he's calling for anti-lockdown protesters to be fined. And at the time that he's tweeting this, it was illegal. The government said you can't even go to drive-ins. So look at this. Today I joined the YYC convoy, so that's Calgary, for Palestine, calling for an end to evictions and violence in Gaza. It's a step backwards and away from the peace process and conflict resolution. So there were thousands of people downtown Calgary, or at least 1,000 people in downtown Calgary, in their cars, out of their cars as well. He's tweeting about attending that, but he wants the province to arrest and lock up people. I mean, these are the people who are cheering and saying it's about time that pastors get locked up. I mean, this virus, it's the most intelligent virus that's ever lived. It's more intelligent than an NDP politician, because it knows your political views, and thus it will only get you if you're conservative. It's very strange.
Sheila, I can only imagine some of the reprehension of those in the Jewish community, especially those of a certain age, when they see this happening in the streets of our great democracy, our great dominion, this anti-Jew hatred. it's not even been a century since this began back in the old country. I'm talking the 1930s in Germany. It starts out with this kind of rhetoric, and then it advances to rocks being smashed through the windows of Jewish-owned businesses. And here we see this playing out again. I never thought I would see this kind of vile pro-Hamas hatred in our nation, but we're seeing it. And the other thing too, it was on my Twitter feed, I'm paraphrasing of course, but many other people were making the point, why are the cops locking up people at anti-lockdown rallies and not turning a complete blind eye to these pro-Hamas demonstrations? And somebody weighed in and said, it was words to the effect, Sheila, of, the people at these anti-lockdown rallies, they're advocating for something that is unsafe. You know, open up the economy, don't wear masks. Whereas the people at the pro-Hamas demonstrations, they're rallying against injustice in the Middle East, especially Israel. And I'm thinking, even if that's true, okay? The virus doesn't care. The virus doesn't know. A mass gathering for any cause. It could be a mass gathering, you know, in support of mother's milk, for goodness sakes. We're being told ad nauseum that the science is driving all these decisions. And these social justice warrior nutbars think that there's some kind of environment in which a virus will pick and choose who to affect based on politics and political correctness. Sheila, I have no words.
Yeah, I mean, even if we use that, even if we concede, and I don't, that mass public gatherings are causing like mass outdoor public gatherings are super spreader events. Well, what has that got to do? Like, if that's the case, and if they're rallying for peace, then that's fine. Then why are we locking up pastors? You know, these are pastors. I would suggest a church is a rally for peace. Yeah. Why don't they get the same exceptions, right? It's just like that Calgary City Councillor, Giancarlo Cara, the other day. He said the exact same thing. And the part that really bothered me is that he's a legislator, that he would see that there is not. He's actually suggesting that it should be official government policy that there's not equal treatment under the law. Because that's what it comes down to. We don't have equal treatment under the law when it comes to the pandemic.
Well, you know, Sheila, we have to keep at this. I think we're one of the few media outlets that is calling out the hypocrisy and the double standards. And it's shocking. And on that note, in terms of double standards, we have a nice little video of Joe Biden talking. I mean, wow. Before I don't want to give it away, so if Justin's ready to run the video of what President Biden said, and by the way, I can't believe I just said those two words in conjunction with each other, President Biden. Man, please tell me I'm living in an alternate universe or I'm in a nightmare that just won't end. I still go back to November and I can't believe this. But let's see President Biden in all his glory at a press conference.
Quick.
How's it drive? How does it feel? President, would you buy one of these?
I would.
How does it feel to be behind the wheel, sir?
It feels great. I tell you what, this is like a vehicle. Now, I don't know if anybody has a stopwatch, but I think if we're going 0 to 60 in about 4.3. 4.4?
Right.
4 flat?
Well, we haven't released the president.
I should be quiet.
Mr. President, how fast were you going?
Well, okay, I'm just going to step on it. I'll come off at 80 miles an hour. You'll see what it is, okay? You ready?
Mr. President, can I ask you a quick question on Israel before you drive
No,
away?
you can't. I'm not unless you get in front of the car as I step on it. I'm only teasing. Okay, here we go. You ready?
See it, sir.
You ready?
You know, Sheila, I got to be honest. I'm not one of these snowflakes. You know, oh, how dare he? You know, he advocate like a form of violence, if you will. But and I like our political leaders to be able to joke. I can't stand how humor has been squeezed like a lemon out of everybody because somebody is going to take offense. But where I talk about the hypocrisy is that if Donald Trump, while president, behind the wheel of a truck, said to a female reporter about standing in front of the vehicle, "Oh, can you hear the headlines, Sheila, screaming about misogyny and violence and implied vehicular homicide." But again, this fellow, he gets a pass.
There's a lot going on in that video with Joe Biden, and I was sort of making notes that, Trump couldn't even tell a joke. And I think Trump was kind of funny, but he couldn't even be sarcastic without the mainstream media absolutely losing their minds. These are the people who get uptight about mean tweets. They said that mean tweets was inciting violence against reporters, and here we have Biden joking about violence against reporters. And I, like you, I'm not uptight about this. I don't really think that he meant to run them over, but the double standard is a little bit much for me. And more than anything, the real concerning thing there is that somebody let someone like Joe Biden drive a car at all. I think his mental fitness and acuity are probably more suited for a mobility scooter that's heavily governed in the speed department. Even when he's talking, it sounds like he's slurring his words, or I don't know, maybe his dentures are a little too big for his mouth. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't think that Joe Biden should be driving at all, anything.
And you know what, Sheila? It's funny, isn't it? There's this undercurrent of fantasies of violence that President Biden has. I go back to last year, there was a question about, if Donald Trump and him were at high school and Donald Trump had said some of the things that he is notorious for saying, would you debate him? And I'm paraphrasing again, but you'll get the gist of it, folks. Biden said, no, I wouldn't debate him. I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. President Biden, you've never beaten the hell out of anyone. You've never taken anyone behind the gym. Now, I know you're not listening because it's only 20 past noon Eastern Standard Time, so you're still in bed. But
no,
I mean,
he's shut her down early. He's one of those old people who gets up at 4. They eat lunch at 9:30. They have supper at 1:30, and then they're in bed by 6:15. That's what I think Joe Biden's daily schedule is. He calls a lid 9 o'clock in the morning. That's his work day. Done.
Yeah. It's something else. Whereas I don't even know if on some days Donald Trump got 4 or 5 hours of sleep. There was so much on his. I don't know where he got the energy from. But this idea of and of course it got applause from the peanut gallery
and jokes.
Yeah,
jokes.
And yet, first of all, like I said, there's no way in Hades that Joe Biden has ever taken anyone behind any building to beat up. And secondly, don't we have a democracy where we don't come to a solution, we don't come to a conclusion based on something out of Game of Thrones where we have a sword fight and last man standing gets his way. We go into the intellectual wells and we debate and we discuss and we use our brains. And meanwhile, this guy thinks, well, I guess he thinks, Sheila, might makes right.
Well, is that really the guy that we want, with his hands on the nuclear codes, by the way? I bet he doesn't remember his phone number. I've got a lot of jokes about Joe Biden, and I'm sorry. But yeah, it's, the thing, didn't he make fun of some guy who asked him a tough question? And he was, I think, and I'm going to be polite, a gentleman who wore husky fit pants. And didn't he ask him a prickly question at a town hall, which you should be prepared for prickly questions at a town hall, that everybody should be welcome to come. And instead of answering the question, he challenged him to a sit-ups competition or push-ups competition, I think. Is that how it went? I mean, there were so many Biden flubs and catastrophes on the campaign trail. I might be blending 2 or 3 events together.
No. You are 100% right. I think it was in the Midwest that happened, if memory serves me, Sheila. And I remember turning to anyone I know that what a dumpster fire this Democrat campaign is. Like and then you would look, the next day or the next week at a Trump outdoor rally where it was like 100,000 people, and Donald Trump is working the room like you wouldn't believe. And this is going to be a landslide. And I'm still shaking my head. And I have to be very, 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 very cautious, folks, what I say, because the Silicon tech giants don't like certain words and allegations. So I won't do that. I'm not going to fish for a strike. So why don't we drop this hot potato while we still can? And how about this? Sheila, I have to say, there's so many important issues going on right now. The ongoing lockdowns, the war on the church, the stripping away of our constitutional and charter rights and freedoms, doofus law enforcement thinking they can muzzle people in the public square when they can't. And you know what? I have to tell you, the question when I go out in the field,
I get it too.
Even Maxime Bernier, the last time I saw him, asked me this question, and it's unbelievable. Did you ever get your bottle from the LCBO? It's a long story, folks. I got shorted. I bought 3 bottles of Scotch, and I only got 2. I like to believe the best of people. It was an honest mistake, but. I don't know if it was or it wasn't, because what triggered the acrimony at this Leaside LCBO store in Toronto was the fact that the person opening the liquor cabinet to give me the Scotch saw that my mask was down below my nose, and of course that made me a super spreader, vector. And so I've always wondered if this was done intentionally or not, but they won't let me see the surveillance video. Regardless, they broke their own policy when they cash out the Scotch that is, or any liquor that is in a box or a cylinder or a canister. They're supposed to open it up, make sure it's the right product. And it's to protect the customers, to protect their inventory. If you're going to sell a $100 bottle and somebody switched a $300 bottle in the same box, then they're out $200. And but the long and the short of it, after a week of back and forth, I went to the head office of the LCBO. It's a website portal called Hello LCBO. And I have to admit, I was shocked, Sheila. In like 24 hours, they picked up my complaint. They told the manager, Ashley, to give me my bottle back. We went to the LCBO to get the bottle. Remember, this is head office orders to Ashley, right? If she's the, sergeant, the admiral or the colonel or the general at LCBO World Control has given her an order, and she changed her mind for some reason. So Moke and I, when we visited there, we never got it. And of course, she called the police and she locked the doors after all the customers were shooed out. I think that's forcible confinement, by the way. But anyways, we left after the police told us to skedaddle or face trespassing charges, which is kind of perverse because all the citizens of the province own the LCBO. It's a crown corporation. It's not privately owned. So we went down to head office to see if I could get my bottle there. This is what Ashley, I think, told us. And why don't we just pick up the video from that particular caper.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
Oh, good.
You don't have a mask on, so yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm not planning to spend a long time here, sir. My name's David Menzies.
Yeah.
And I am owed a bottle of Glenfarclas 105. I don't know if you saw a report.
No.
Oh,
I gotta take you outside, but only kids don't have a mask.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I'll socially distance myself.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't have a mask, but I don't have a bottle of $110 Scotch either. That's coming to me. So Ashley, the manager at the Wicksteed Avenue location, told me to come to the head office, which is kind of inexplicable because it was the head office that ordered her to give me my bottle. It was a bottle I bought but never received. So is there somebody here that can give me my bottle, sir, and then I'll be on my way?
You know, you've dealt with the LCBO a long time. You know the rules.
What are the
You have
rules?
to talk to somebody in our corporate communications.
Oh, that's the thing, sir. They never communicate. Once upon a time, I knew the people. They're like Chris Layton, you know, but now they don't even have names. And I've reached out to them on several occasions. They don't return my calls. I'm just acquiescing to what Ashley said, which was, you know, to come to take it up with head office. So I'm here. Folks, I interrupt this video for a very urgent message. You know it's only a matter of time before the Silicon Valley tech giants come and crush Rebel News, or at least try to crush Rebel News once and for all. We're not going to let that happen. Please go to rebelnews.com. That's rebelnews.com. We need you to sign up with us there on our website. We need your phone number. We need your email address. We do not share your personal information with anyone else. But if we can get that information from you, you can maintain your relationship with Rebel News going forward in the future. I just want my bottle, then I'll be on my way. I bet you probably got a few bottles in this big warehouse, eh?
You know I can't do that. You have to talk to somebody in communications.
Can you get somebody on communications to come out here, sir? And
Guys, you don't have their number. You've dealt with us for so long. Let me give you the number, okay?
This isn't your fault, sir. They just don't communicate. You know, like I said, the only reason I'm down here is because Ashley told me to take it up with head office. And as I said to you before, sir,
Who's Ashley?
Ashley is the manager at the Wicksteed Avenue LCBO location.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why she would do that, because I did take it up with the head office. The head office ordered her to give me my bottle, and then she changed her mind.
I am going to help you with phone numbers and contacts as best I can do for you.
If you can get me that bottle, I'll be gone.
The bottle I could not get, and nothing walks out of this warehouse through me. I'm not a person who can release bottles.
Oh, we know some of this is walking out of the warehouse with all the millions of dollars of. We actually.
I'll meet you outside. I'm gonna,
okay.
Unless you have a mask, you're more than welcome to come over to my desk over here.
Well, here, let me. I'll tell you what. I'll see if I have something like that. Yeah. Or are these employees here?
Yeah.
You know. Hey guys, are you guys LCBO workers?
They can't help you.
No. You can't get me a bottle of 105, sir?
No.
Okay. How about yourself, sir? Can you get me a bottle of 105? Hey guys, can any of you get me a bottle of 105? Oh no, you took your mask off.
I'm loud in here. So
By the way, at the Wicksteed Avenue location, their office, you're only allowed to have 2 employees in due to COVID. There's a sign on the door.
Sure.
They had as many as 4 employees in that office. Oh, hello. Can you get me a bottle of 105, if that's possible? If you can get back into the warehouse there?
just ignore them.
Just ignore them. That's not nice.
It's not nice that you're doing that to these people. Come on.
Listen, it's very unnice that I got ripped off. All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You take care, and
phone numbers. I would say call the first one. It's corporate communications.
all I want is my bottle of Scotch. That's all. Do you remember the Charles Bronson movie, Mr. Majestic? All he wanted to do was harvest his watermelons. That's
Right,
all.
that's all he wanted to
And
do.
then the mob shot them up, those watermelons. I'm like Mr. Majestic. Just leave my watermelons alone. Leave my Scotch alone. and I'm a happy guy.
Again, I don't know any background to what's happened here. Right?
Okay.
And
Do you know what? Google it. Watch the report. Seriously, type in Rebel News and LCBO, and it should pop up.
hate to see myself on TV, but good luck to you, my friend.
You've been a good guy. Thank you, sir. Well, there you have it, folks. I acquiesced to Ashley's demands. I came all the way down to Lakeshore Boulevard, the home of the LCBO head office and their warehouse. Oh boy, there is millions and millions of dollars of hooch back there. It could have been resolved if one of those employees just went into the storeroom and got me one of those bottles of 105. But I still don't have my Scotch, but I have a piece of paper with some contact numbers. There's at Corporate Communications, Amy Waters. I wonder if she's related to Muddy. Then there's Hello LCBO. That's who I originally reached out to. And at customer service, there's a lady called Kendra. In the days ahead, I will reach out to all of these people. Stay tuned for part 3 when it comes to, will David Menzies get his bottle of 105? You know, Sheila, I experienced all this, and when I watched the video, I can't believe it myself. And I have to say, could you ever imagine this occurring in your province of Alberta, where, thank goodness, you have a privatized liquor system? I know it used to be government controlled until I think the early 90s, and then the government did the right thing. It assumed the role of regulation and taxation, but when it came to warehousing and selling the alcohol, that is for the private sector to do. I'm at my wit's end. That fellow, and he's a nice guy, and I didn't want to give him any aggro, but when he said, the rules, let's talk about the rules. How about buy 3, get 3, as opposed to buy 3, get 2? How about I have to wear a mask, but the LCBO, and we caught them red-handed on camera, they break the COVID-19 occupancy rules for the office. And it was so funny too, Sheila. If you saw the image was dark, once they saw us filming the occupancy in the office, Ashley turned the lights off, but there was enough ambient lighting to see the people. And also when he said, I can't do that. When I said, just go to the warehouse and bring me out a bottle, I'll be on my way. You could if you wanted to. We had a Freedom of Information request. I think it was in the neighborhood of $8 million of booze is walking out LCBO stores. Easy peasy. However, the union, OPSU, says the number, and I don't know where they got this number from, but it's a big discrepancy. They say the real figure is about 70 million because, simply put, Sheila, if you go to an LCBO store, the policy is if anyone picks up booze and walks out without paying, don't do anything. Just call the police, and hopefully later they'll be caught coming back. That's the only way they catch thieves, is that the same thief comes back when there happens to be law enforcement in the area. So that's the thing. If I wanted to rip off the LCBO, I know exactly how to do it. Bring in a bag, a suitcase. We've even heard of shopping carts coming in and stock it up and walk out and even smile and wave at the clerks. Yeah. I just want to get what I paid for and look at the rigmarole that we're going through.
Mm. Yeah, I was watching that video, I was furiously writing down some notes. But as you know, I watch all the videos before they go up, just to make sure that we don't say anything to get ourselves kicked off of any particular platform. But as I was watching that, I was wondering, why does this story resonate with everybody? Doesn't matter where we are. I'm out here in Alberta and people are like, did David Menzies ever get his bottle of Scotch when I'm out? And so I've been giving some thought to why this story seems to resonate with people. And as Albertans, we watch it like a car crash, right? Because it's hard to believe that you guys have this liquor bureaucracy there that snatches jobs from entrepreneurs. Every time I see an LCBO store, like when I was in Toronto last week, my daughter and I were out and about, and my daughter's like, what's that? I'm like, that's the government run liquor store. And for us, you could throw a rock in any direction, you'll hit a beer store or whatever, and every time the government sells you booze, they're stealing the hopes and dreams of an entrepreneur who should be owning and running that store.
Yes.
And in Alberta, by and large, they're owned and operated by first-generation Canadians, the immigrant community. So to see the government in Ontario running the liquor stores, you're stealing jobs from and the Canadian dream from the immigrant entrepreneurial class. And for me, I think that's pretty gross. But the story, I think, resonates because it's the story of one man taking on the government for what's his. And there's so many layers of nonsense in there. And again, as an Albertan, I look at this and I'm like, those people are making government wages and government benefits to do cashier work. And I can't even get my head around that. But I think it's the doggedness of like, you refuse to give up. The government ripped you off and you're just trying to get what's yours. But also, I can't believe that you drink high-end booze. Like that I can't believe.
It's a very recent phenomenon, Sheila. I didn't have my first sip of alcohol until I was 23. So the honest to God, something else occurred when I was 23 too, which I shall not speak of. But what gets me, Sheila, is the ostensible policy reason for provincial liquor boards, and Ontario isn't the only one. You have Freedom out west. That's the anomaly, actually, is something called social responsibility. And that means that if we gave this to the private sector, this niche of retailing, this is a potentially deadly substance. If you over imbibe, you get in a car, you can cause an accident, create carnage, or worse, kill somebody. The private sector can't be trusted. We know that if we let them sell booze, there'd be 14-year-olds drinking Colt 45 in the parking lot. So government answers to a higher authority.
Right.
We're not money-driven, profit-driven. I want to blow that argument away entirely based on an anecdote that goes back to 1986. I was working in your province at the St. Paul Journal. I saved up enough vacation time to drive down to Southern California, where I've always wanted to go. And it was kind of normal back then, folks. I don't know if I want to go to Southern California right now. But I was put up by a friend for a few days, and I decided to go out and buy him a case of beer as a thank you gesture. And I went to an independent store, and I had government ID, my Alberta driver's license. I was 23 years old. The drinking age is 21 in California. And he said, no. And I said, but I've got ID. And he says, the policy is if you look under 30 and you have out of state, much less out of country ID, the answer is no. And I thought, this guy's nuts. So I went to another one and a third one. And it was no every time. And I said, what's wrong with you guys? And they said, look, he said, I believe you're 23. I believe that, this place called Alberta actually exists. And that's a real driver's license. But if this is some kind of a government sting, because they do test the retailers, he says, my first penalty is I lose the right to sell alcohol. And then the second penalty is a $50,000 fine. And strike 3, you're out. I've lost my license, and that means I lose my livelihood. So these private entrepreneurs, Sheila, were scared to death of selling me. I finally got that case of beer at a supermarket. The clerk called the manager. The manager's looking at the ID. He's actually sweating. It's like, is this real? And he finally okayed it. So on the fourth store, I finally got to, and I'm 2 years over the minimum age of 21. But you could see that that was the kind of regulation that was in place, that they could put these guys out of business if they wanted to. Meanwhile, when I was back at Sun News, this is going back almost 10 years, we had a 15-year-old boy in a burqa go into 3 LCBO stores, buy hard liquor. We outed them. Did any of those stores receive a suspension? Did any employee get reprimanded? Not that I wanted them to. Did the LCBO stores that did that have to pay a multi-$1,000 fine to the Treasury? Well, that's just kind of like sharing the same money. No, it's they shrug and go, we'll try harder next time. Unbelievable hypocrisy.
Well, and okay, so let's concede, for the sake of argument, which I don't believe, because I think everything the private sector does, they do it better than the government. But let's concede, for the sake of argument, that liquor can only be responsibly sold by the government. I definitely don't believe that. But let's just say that. Then how do they explain bars and pubs to me? Because bars and pubs are serving alcohol. They're private places. The government isn't there making sure that you don't overserve, that everybody gets home safely. And for me, if we are considering risk, there's an extra element of risk when you're out drinking and you're not at home. The thing with going to the liquor store and picking up your booze and bringing it home is that you're going home. So you don't have to get from point A to point B after you've had a drink. You don't have to figure that thing out. So how do these people who believe in the nanny state idea of the government being the only place to responsibly sell you liquor, how do they reconcile that with bars and pubs where that isn't the case?
Sheila, I have an even better example in the Department of Apples and Apples. In Ontario, we have more than 200, they're called agency stores. And these are in small rural communities where an LCBO would be a white elephant. There's not enough people to support a standalone government store. So the local variety store or convenience store, they can sell beer, wine, even the hard stuff, because it's not economical for the LCBO to do so. So I'll pick a place. I think Beaton is a town in Ontario that has an agency store. In other words, a variety store that sells, all the junk food, the lottery tickets, everything else, plus the booze. So the government is saying, Sheila, suddenly, no, this is not about social responsibility, because the good people of Beaton, they can go to a private store and buy their booze. But if you live in Windsor or Ottawa or Kitchener or Toronto or Waterloo, no, those big city people, they're not responsible. It's ridiculous. Even by their own stated official policy, it's all a lie.
I can't even get my head around this. Like, the concept. Like, I remember once I was headed to Toronto for meetings or something, and I got in like relatively early-ish, and I was like, I could use a beer, but I was going to go to like the liquor store and just, see what you guys had there, something maybe different than what we had in Alberta. And it was closed, and it was like 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, this is crazy. I can go to my little country liquor store, like in the middle of nowhere, not even in a town, just like there's a convenience store with the liquor store attached, 2 a.m. I can go there till 2 a.m. and I'm in the big city of Toronto and I can't get a beer at 9:05.
It is unbelievable. And even though they've liberated some alcohol sales in recent years, some supermarkets, if you're lucky enough, can sell some beer and wine. The price has to be identical to the LCBO price, and the hours have to be identical. So if the LCBO closes at 8 and the supermarket's open till 10, guess what? You can't run through that booth. We are treated like children. It is outrageous. And I guess that's another segue from one odious Ontario Crown Corporation to another. Although this one has a happy ending, folks. It is my quest to get my winning lottery ticket. You see, in Ontario, Sheila, I don't know what
our entire news network has turned into you just seeking justice for your personal grudges against government agencies. That's all we do now, I guess.
But you know what, Sheila? They're their own worst enemies. They are petty. They are vindictive. And it just blows up in their face. And one of the reasons I buy lottery tickets, and it's typically, the ones that have better odds, like pick 3, pick 4. I think I'll be alive forever playing something like 649 or Lotto Max. Those numbers will never come up. But just to get a prize of over $1,000 as opposed to in the multi-millions. And the reason is, and I don't know what the rules are in Alberta, Sheila, maybe you can educate me on that.
I don't know. I don't play the lottery.
Well, you're good.
I don't waste...
You know what? That's because you're smart. And they say lotteries are an idiot tax, and you're looking at a real big idiot here. But the rule is in Ontario, if you have a winning ticket of $999.99, you can go to a grocery store that sells lottery tickets. They cash you out. Easy peasy. No ID needed either. You go 1 penny over to 1,000, and suddenly they put an investigator on the case. I'm not making this up. And then you have to fill out 2 pages of forms, which I always do, checking every box, writing in every line. And there's always the video surveillance, that can prove this. So it's a moot point. And the OLG twice have had to take them to small claims court to get a winning ticket cashed that is legitimately mine, but they say we have questions about who the purchaser is. Well, if not me, who? And each time it goes to court, before it even starts the trial, they go, oh, our bad, we've decided we're convinced Mr. Menzies is the purchaser. It is petty, evil vindictiveness designed to make me file a $100 court case and to wait months or even over a year. And this time, I didn't have to go that far. I think our original video of me outing them, again denying me a prize of just over $1,000, was enough to shame them into doing the right thing. And I think Mr. Producer has a video of the victory lap.
Sir, I'm just here. I'm with media, just filming a shot.
There's no filming on this property unless it's been authorized in advance.
Sorry, what was that?
There's no filming on the property unless it's been authorized in advance.
Okay, I believe this was prearranged.
With who?
I'm uncertain personally. I'm with Rebel News. Sorry?
There'll be no filming until that's proven.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I have my instructions here. I'm waiting. I've already people inside. They're on their way out.
You must understand that this is private property.
Okay.
And there's no filming.
Understood.
Okay.
Oh, hi, gentlemen. I am back again. You know what? I see the sign saying that it's closed for COVID. I got a beautiful sign here, sir. Closed for scandal. Where can I hang this sign?
Probably a Rebel News, no comment.
Probably a Rebel News, but we're not scandalous. The OLG is scandalous, sir.
Okay, that's, we've got nothing to say, so you're best on your way.
Okay, then. By the way, my check did come by Purelator from the OLG, and I'm just trying to find out what changed from last Wednesday to this Wednesday, because they had originally said all of my information was not sufficient enough. They didn't believe that I was the winner. So I don't know if you play the lottery or not, but...
No, but I'm going to have to ask you both to leave because you're not wearing masks, so you're not in compliance.
Are you really that afraid of this virus?
This has got nothing to do with it. Okay. This is CF policy.
Yeah, but I mean, the policy, I think you look young and healthy. I don't think you're in any danger.
You can take this outside.
Okay. Geez, that sounds ominous. So what I'm trying to find out, sir, is what changed, because they said my information was not sufficient enough, and then suddenly it was sufficient enough to award me the prize. Was it the fact that we aired a video based on this latest slice of corruption?
You have to ask OLG.
You know what? I have asked them several times. They're not returning my emails, and there's nobody in the office, sir.
No comment.
Okay, then. Well, I'm not trying to give you a tough time. I just think you seem like a decent guy. If you bought a lottery ticket and your numbers came up, wouldn't you expect to be paid out on it?
No comment.
No comment on that? So there's some nuance here. Maybe you shouldn't be paid out on a prize that you've rightfully won?
No comment.
Okay. All right, then. Well, the security guard is a little tongue-tied again. I just asked him a basic question, whether he'd expect to be paid out on a winning lottery ticket. I would hope he'd be paid out, but as we found, those with contrarian opinions and others, they don't get paid out, because I think what we have discovered is that the OLG is a government unto itself, and a corrupt government at that. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. And Sheila, what I meant by contrarian opinions, I've covered the OLG, probably the most scandal-plagued Crown Corporation in the history of Crown Corporations. Yep. If you don't believe me, folks, if you think that's rhetoric, check out former Ombudsman Andre Morin's report, A Game of Trust. It is the most scathing thing I've ever seen, where the Lottery Corporation knew it was paying off insiders and denying actual legit winners their money. Can you imagine? Again, another Crown Corporation that runs under the proviso of social responsibility. But, it was, I think that is what drives them. They hate me. They hate my coverage. It's all factual. Yeah. If it wasn't, I would have been sued into the Stone Age. They're so vindictive there. And this is their way of pettiness. But again, Sheila, it just so badly reflects on them, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, they are making you jump through the hoops of, just trying to get your what's right. Again, just like the LCBO, try to get what's rightfully yours. And the problem is corruption within their own agency. Yeah. And yet they're making you jump through the hoops that are in place because of their own corruption.
And Sheila, I jumped through every one of those hoops. That's the point. And it's still not good enough. So there you go. But
we need to get to some of these chats because
100%.
As Justin tells me, they need the studio right after we're done here. So let's get through them. From Odyssey, I'm further away from the monitor than normal. Phoebe for Freedoms says she moved over from YouTube. Well, that's great. I'm glad you did. Super U, Red Rose 7734. I'm loving Super U. The pictures are bright and the Super U shout works great. Great platform. Well, I'm very glad to hear that. We've got a hyper chat of 5 libraries from Enoch the Salty Pretzel. Says, thanks to David and Sheila from Golan Heights, Israel. The support is appreciated.
Wow.
I have fond memories of the Golan Heights, of the people. If I recall correctly, the roads are pretty windy. And I didn't feel all that great after we sort of got to the very top of the Golan. And I remember one thing that really stuck with me when I was there was, I forget what the lookout is called, where you are sort of able to go to the very top of Golan Heights and you can look out into Syria.
Yes.
And you can hear the shelling of the Syrian civil war from up there. And the UN is there and they have these guys with binoculars and that's how they monitor the Syrian civil war, is from a perch in the safety of Israel. And I thought it was ironic because the UN constantly attacks Israel, calls it human rights abusers, but the only safe place for them to monitor the atrocities of the Syrian civil war was from inside Israel. And secondarily, they only seem to monitor the Syrian civil war on bankers' hours. I remember we got up there at just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're walking up to the lookout and the UN observers are walking down. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess just bankers' hours. That's how you you watch what's going on in the Syrian civil war. The UN is a total joke. Anyway.
Well, Sheila, to our friend in the Golan Heights, 2 things. I love how the Israelis describe the UN, the United Nothings, which is what they are. And I know this is going to be completely shocking to some sectors of society in the West, but when it comes to Israel, I love Israel. Israel is worth fighting for. Israel is worth dying for. It is this island of tolerance and democracy in a sea of hatred, and I love that country. So stay safe, my friend.
Yeah, and I've got a theory about how all the kids there are normal because they have to do the mandatory military service, so they're all really normal and noticeably normal.
That was your best quote from that trip. We went to that Air Cadet graduation, which was phenomenal, and the air power on display, unbelievable. And Sheila turns to me, folks, and she says, hey, Menzoid, you notice something? I go, what? She goes, there's no weirdos here.
In the whole country, all the young people are normal. Well done, Israel. A hyper chat of one library from Laszlo the Instigator says, has the soy-infused Trudeau commented on the pastor's arrest? Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, he applauded it probably, but he hasn't released that statement.
Super U, Sheila's friend Justin says the prostitutes would be rioting if Trump said that. Yes, definitely. They would be like, Trump is trying to kill us. Let's impeach it. Let's impeach him for the 11th time. Odyssey from Lady Magic says, I wouldn't even let him drive a video game. LOL. Yeah, no kidding. Who put him behind the wheel of a car? We get a hyper chat of one library from History Club World. Follow History Club World on Instagram, your hub for educational content. Question for the lovely host. If you had to choose which one of the mainstream media companies to join, which one would it be? I would say Fox, because they are absolutely mainstream, being as big as they are and as well watched as they are. CNN certainly doesn't think so, but I mean, if you are the most watched cable news channel, you are the mainstream. And who is Canada's worst prime minister, excluding the Trudeaus? Oh, Kim Campbell for sure. And America's worst president, Jimmy Carter. David, you answer.
Well, you know what? It would have been Jimmy Carter for me for president, but I think just based on his first 100 days plus, I think Joe Biden is going to make Jimmy Carter look like Ronald Reagan, to tell you the truth. And well, when you exclude the two Trudeaus, those are the obvious choices. And Kim Campbell, or as I remember what Frank Magazine used to call her, Prime Minister for a day. Right?
Yeah.
You know, someone who took a conservative majority and turned it into what I called the Mazda Miata party. The Miata is a sports car with two seats, and that's what the conservatives were left with in 1993. Do you remember that, Sheila?
Oh, yeah. I think she was prime minister for like 2 trimesters. If you're measuring it in pregnancies. I mean, like, she just terrible, and won't go away. Think she has something to say about the conservative movement. And it's like, sister, you set it back an entire decade, like half a generation. No, you don't have anything to say about the conservative movement. Zip your mouth. And she's infected with like Trump derangement syndrome. And so that makes her really popular in the media here in Canada. But yeah, she should just go away into obscurity, but our worst politicians never do. David, if you could join a mainstream media company, what would it be?
Oh, well, in Canada, I really can't think of any. You went south of the border to Fox. Boy, would I love rubbing shoulders with Hannity and company, and Tucker, of course. And geez, doesn't that speak so ill of Canadian mainstream media that I can't, on the other hand, we were talking about time machines yesterday. If we could go back in time about 10 years and restart Sun News, that was fantastic. And, you know, even when Sun News was beginning, Sheila, I should point out, they were the haters, even before it got on the air for 1 minute, were calling it as though this was a slur, Fox News North. What would be wrong with Fox News North? If Fox News started, but you know what? I'm happy as a clam here. So I'm not going anywhere. There you go.
Yeah. Fox
Unless
News
I'm
North,
shoved out.
Like
right?
my mom used to say, don't threaten me with a good time. I'd love Fox News North. Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's not a mainstream media company in Canada that you or I would jump to, if Rebel News disappeared for some reason, is the best job security possible. Because it's just really us in the space, isn't it?
It is.
We've got a hyper chat of one library from Sue J and Grant.sg. Weirdness in the air this Wednesday. Got that right, sister. Super U, Makaya. The LCBO story is so good. Can't wait to see if he gets his bottle. Yeah, me too.
What are the odds?
I still can't believe you drink expensive booze. You're the guy who bought an electric car for the rebate, and you like brag about how much money you spend on Hallmark cards for your wife. I can't believe you drink expensive booze.
Sheila, it was a papaya card. That's very high end. And I circled the price tag on the back. Yeah, I did.
Poor woman. A chat from Super U, George, 1961. David, you're a bulldog. Grr, LOL. Super U, Sheila's friend Justin says, get that bottle, Davy boy. Yeah. We've got a hyper chat of 5 libraries from Spiker 15. Biden was not driving. That truck had 2 steering wheels, and the passenger was driving. Surprise. Yeah, it's like one of those driver training cars where the other guy on the other side, there's like a break on the floor. Super U from Fraser McBurney, Phrasebo, says he just kicked in $10. Well, thanks, Fraser. Fraser's a Fight the Fines recidivist, I think is the right word. We've got a Odyssey chat from Barry Dutton, says, admit it. This ongoing Scotch story is both funny and also points to the overall fraud of government in just one story. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's funny, but Barry, believe me, inside, I'm crying.
No. Oh, gosh. Let me see if I can get to the bottom here. we've got another Super You comment from George, 1961. David, you still look 23.
Wow.
And I thought I was the one having problems with my camera.
Mr.
But
Producer
anyway.
just said he's lying. How dare you call our viewers liars, Justin?
David, I would notice that, like, this company is slowly sucking the life out of our on-air talent. I noticed that Efron, since we made him head of video, he's aged like 5 years. I was looking back at some of your videos from, I think it was at Al Quds Day from a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, David's hair has like grayed rapidly since, you know, since Fight the Fines, I guess, since the pandemic. And looking back at some of Ezra's earlier videos, the liberals in charge has been hard on us all. Odyssey,
That's why I need my bottle.
You need it. Yeah. Odyssey from Commander Kim. David's a bulldog. Once he latches on, he doesn't let go. Admire your stubbornness, sir. He's also really cheap. And so maybe that's part of his fighting spirit is he paid good money for this and he's not going to let it go.
You got it.
Super You from ZenAX. Poor David, he's always being picked on. Where's the love for the gingers? I'm married to a redhead, so I've got a lot of love for the gingers.
Well, thank you, folks, for all those kind comments. I think we're losing our studio time. We got something we have to record, Sheila. So on the behalf of Mr. Producer Justin, yourself, myself, Sheila and I will be back in this space tomorrow at noon. Thank you so much for tuning in. In the meantime, folks, stay sane.